Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. I'm Julianne Richards and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in sunny Tasmania. Today I'm showing you a technique called mirror image stamping. I've actually researched a few techniques how to do this mirror imaging across the internet, and I have 3 or 4 methods I'd like to show you today. Each of these methods you need to practice to get it right. It's quite a fiddly technique, but I think you'll agree that once you perfect it, it's quite useful in our card making and scrapping. The reason I decided to investigate mirror image stamping is when I made this card with our Magical Day characters and stamps. The part of me was screaming out that I didn't like all the mermaids facing in the same direction. I would have actually liked to have 2 facing in from one direction and the other facing the opposite direction. That's just how my mind works. And also the little seahorses would have been nice to have one facing in and the other facing the other direction. Same with this similar one with the unicorns. It really bugged me that both unicorns were going the same way. I would have liked to have another one, the other one turned into the middle. Anyway, so if you're a bit like me, you'd like to know how to do that, I have some techniques here for you that you might like to try at home. Okay, so the 3 techniques I've found across the internet are quite different, and to be honest, you're going to have to practice because they are a bit fiddly and you have to get your inking and your positioning just right to get it right. Anyway, but I might as well show you what you need to do. The first couple of techniques actually include stamping up stamps. First of all, what you need is a stamp that's bigger than the stamp you're hoping to mirror image. So say for example I want to mirror image my little mermaid here. I'd pick a stamp that's bigger than her. Also, it needs to be a fairly solid stamp without too many air holes in it or without too many blank spaces. So this one's from the Easter stamp that came out this year, and it's perfect because it's mostly solid. It's got a few blank spaces there that I can avoid if I'm careful. And what you actually do if you were stamping with this stamp, you'd put it this way up so that all the grooves and detail are on the top. When you're actually using it for this purpose, you actually turn it up the other way and put it on your stamp block there, so you've got a nice flat surface. So then it's fairly logical what you're actually doing. You ink up your stamp, inking up our mermaid. Put a nice amount of ink in there because what you're actually doing is transferring it twice, so you do lose a fair bit. Then go straight down, and if I can avoid a few air pockets there, it will be a better result. Straight down with this stamp onto your, what we call our the transfer stamp. Now go straight down and straight up. Try not to wiggle around, and you'll get an image there on the second stamp. Flip it over, pop it down onto your paper. Again, straight down, straight up. Give it a bit of a nice bit of pressure, and because we're using the photopolymer stamps, it'll need peeling off, and you are left with some image there. So that one's not ideal, so it's probably a good one to show you the fact that I haven't inked that enough. So you can see where I have inked it enough, the lines are nice and sharp, but around her hair and her head I haven't inked that enough, and probably corresponds with areas on this stamp where there are a few bubbles or a few details there. So that's one technique. I played with that a lot. I did manage to get it, after a lot of playing you can actually get it to work. The tricky bit is that if you wanted to pop that back and have another go, it's very difficult. But one of the later techniques I'll show you, you can actually go over them a couple of times. So I'll clean that off. Now the thing is, when you're using photopolymer and clear mount stamps, make sure that your surface is clean and dry. Very careful, very important that it's dry. So I couldn't use that again now because it would transfer moisture from the stamp to the paper, and you don't want that. So before I can try again with that method, I'm going to have to let that dry. We'll have another go with the clear mount stamp. That's from the half full stamp set. As you can see, it's nice and large. It's bigger than my mermaid, and it's a fairly solid stamp. So let's give that one a go as well. Again, we'll stamp up our mermaid. Try and be a bit heavier with it. To be honest, I think this variation of it works better. Straight down, straight up. Okay, you can see we've got the image there. You then have to flip it and put it, get out of the way you, straight down on the paper and give it a good press all over to transfer the ink again. Oh, cross your fingers. Oh, excellent. That one's worked really well. You can see that all the areas have come up. Might be a little bit smudgy there, but that's relatively sharp. And if I then stamp our mermaid here, you'll see that it's a lovely mirror image of our original stamp. I'll clean that off as well. Okay, so when cleaning off, I just use a fragrance-free, alcohol-free baby wipe, but you can use the stamping cleaner from Stampin' Up as well. So that's two techniques I saw on the internet. The problem with both of those are that if you muck one up, there's no easy way of going over and doing it exactly again. So that's where my third technique comes in, but I'm really pleased with the way that second one's turned out. Another hint as well, if you're doing two facing each other, so one's a mirror image of the other, stamp the original image off a bit so that it's not quite as dark, and then you won't see the difference between the two so much. Obviously when you're mirror imaging, you're never going to get as sharp and as dark an image as if you're doing it directly from the stamp pad itself. Okay, so the third one, and to be honest my preferred method, uses a silicone mat. So this is a silicone mat, or part of a silicone mat. I can't find the rest of it. It's a large silicone mat. Stampin' Up actually sells silicone mats, but because I knew I would be cutting this one up, I actually just bought it from a local craft store. I didn't want to cut up a good Stampin' Up mat until I actually knew that I knew what I was doing. Anyway, silicone mats come with a shiny side and a matte side, and you will actually be stamping onto the matte side. So we'll give that a go. Also, the good thing with this technique is that you can use your stamping tool. The Stamparatus by Stampin' Up is an excellent tool. I've seen it operating. This is one I've had forever, since before I joined Stampin' Up, and the environmentalist of me won't let me throw it away until it's been used, worn out. Once it is, of course, I'll buy the Stamparatus from Stampin' Up because, as I say, it's an excellent product. But anyway, using my stamping tool here, what you can actually do is pop your image that you want to stamp and your silicone mat with the shiny side down, so that's the matte side up, onto there. Position your mermaid or whatever you're stamping into the right spot. Attach it to your lid so it's in the right position. Then we're going to stamp her up, or ink her up nice and juicy, and then bring her straight down onto the original position on the silicone mat. Okay, so if you can see there, I'll bring it forward a bit, we actually have a little mermaid in there. Then with my card, I can actually position that exactly in the corner and give it a rub down. Then cross your fingers, cross your legs, hold your breath, bring it back up again, and you can see we've got the image transferred. So that's pretty good, that one. I would not bother doing that again if I was making a card with this, but just to show you the idea of being able to go over again and again. So you wanted her a bit darker, you stamp her up again, pop her down, nothing's moved, hopefully. Pop her down there, same position, press it down. Actually, I find this a lot easier to not wobble around when I'm using the stamping tool, because it basically keeps itself steady for me. Then again, back into the same position, bit of a rub down. Now, if I've got everything lined up the way it was originally, we should have a clearer image. And we do. That's really good. So I'm really pleased with that. So she's worked out really well. As you can see, the lines are fairly well defined and nice and dark. If I stamp her with her friend, who looks the same way as she does, or the opposite direction as she does, you can see them there together. So you could cut them out, mat them. If you decide to put them through your Big Shot with the framelets, you do actually have to be careful to position it. So rather than cutting it like you may on this side when you're doing your original, you would actually cut it from that side. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. What I did here, so there, so that's a good technique. I like that one, and I'm going to be using that one going forward. Here's a card I created with our little mermaids. Those ones are just loose on top. As you can see, we've got the two mermaids facing each other, which I think is sweet. You can see the original one is slightly darker, so use that tip where you stamp that one off and don't have that one quite as defined. Brings it in line with the mirror image. And you can see I've done our two little, hope you can see that, the two little seahorses are facing each other as well, so I've done a mirror image on one of those also. Just a hint for when you're actually putting it through your Sizzix, your Big Shot machine, colour them in first, because using the blends, which is what I've used to colour these, the image actually bleeds through to the back, so that helps you because you're going to be putting it down on your Sizzix machine like that, positioning your Thinlit over the top in line with the colours and then cutting it that way. So that's the way to do that. So it's one good thing about them actually bleeding through the paper. So that's really good. I really like those. So that's the technique. Those are 3 techniques for mirror stamping. Have a go. Find out which one's for you, which one you would prefer. And you know, if you have any problems or questions, just get in contact. I have a Facebook page, a blog, and a demonstrator, independent demonstrator website, and I'll put links to all of those in the comments, the description of this video. I'm having a special, I'm having an offer at the moment on my website that if you sign up for my mailing list, I will send you an advance copy of the new 2018-2019 catalogue. As soon as I get it in my hands, I will send it out, and maybe there'll be a little extra something from me as well. If you really like this Magical Day stamp set and framelets or Thinlits, it's actually going to be retired at the 31st of May. So if you've been thinking to yourself, I really need to get hold of that one, act quickly, because it will go quickly. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again next time.